Welcome back to Women's Wealth, The Middle Way, the show that answers your questions about work, money, and family. My name is Susan McGlory Michael, and I am the CEO and founder of Gleneagle, a wealth management firm in New Jersey. Our guest today is Carol Buck. Carol is the founder and CEO of Xenna, a personal care product company based in Princeton, New Jersey. Carol turned her expertise in marketing and cosmetic formulating into a thriving business, developing innovative nail and skincare products sold nationwide to millions. Welcome, Carol.
Hi, Susan. Thank you for having me.
Carol, I know that you started Xenna in 1996 after working in advertising and the pharmaceutical consulting. What inspired you to launch your own business?
It came about because the company that I was working for was acquired, and I had a choice of joining them or spinning out on my own. And while I was working for this other company, I had been helping entrepreneurs introduce their biotechnology concepts to pharmaceutical companies, and I developed along the way some theories of my own. And I began to feel like I'd like to be in their shoes rather than just a representative. So I decided to start with just inventing a product that I needed, which happened at the time to be something for straightening curly hair, especially in the summer. I had very frizzy hair and I hated it. And I said, well, look, I'm going to make a product that solves my problem and see if anybody else would like to buy it. So I developed a product that was fun to work with, and it got me going into my own world of formulating. I hired a chemist who was retired and wanted something to do, and together we learned the business of personal care.
Absolutely amazing. And how you can start when you say someone that was retired probably wanting to give back also, and you're wanting to solve your problem. When you think of those two synergies, how perfect to have the launch of a business. But your research actually led you to create Nonix, and that's a breakthrough product for clearing nail damage by nail fungus. How did you discover this solution? It's really amazing to hear kind of the journey here.
Well, exactly. I think true to any new business and the entrepreneurial spirit is you sometimes start out in one place and end in another. And this happened to me. I did launch Curl Away Natural Curl Relaxer. We had it in Walgreens and we sold it in catalog. We patented it. But my patent attorney said to me one day, Carol, you've got this wonderful product for softening keratin protein. Is there any other claims you want to make about it? And the other part of your body that has keratin protein are your nails. And I said, well, I hadn't thought about that, but now that you mention it, maybe softening ingrown toenails would be a good secondary product. Certainly people need that. So in order to prove the concept, I sent a sample of Curl Away Pure Hair Relaxer to my father, who happened to have ingrown toenails. And he said after a couple of maybe about 2 to 4 or 5 weeks, he emailed me back and he said, Carol, this isn't too bad for ingrown toenails. But the most amazing thing is happening. My toenail fungus is going away. So as you can see, I evolved from hair care to toenail care, foot care. And indeed, I realized that there was a basis for that. The fungus lives within denatured keratin protein. So it basically feeds on the keratin protein of your nail and denatures it. And we were able to get that keratin debris out of the nail with Nonix. And so we turned it into a consumer product, and that was my second product that actually took off in about the year 2000.
It's amazing. And having watched you over the years, you are such an inspiration to women listening, because for me, the one gift I've taken from you is you see something and then you try to come up with a solution, and the excitement that you get through that and the energy. And then those around you want to participate in helping you solve these simple things. And I just remember over the years, with working just with other women, watching you in action. And I know that often you have been very active in other women type of organizations. How have these networks with other women helped you as a woman and a business owner?
The one that comes to mind initially was the WBNC program. It allowed me to credential myself as a women-owned business. And at the time, in the aughts, this was a very important goal for major companies to bring more women into the product supplier world. WBNC provides that credentializing that a small company needs. They will make space for you, even though you're not a big company, even though you have just one product. They'll say, okay, yes, but it's a women-owned business. We think that's important to have represented. Big Co will take your product. This was mostly effective up until about, let's say, 2015. And then women themselves over that 15 years actually launched a heck of a lot of products and became quite successful. So the exceptionalism of running your own business wasn't quite there in the same way. But I still renew my certification every year. Walmart asks for it. It's expected to be maintained. And then the other part of it was when I would go to their annual meetings, I would learn from others. We would sit around and, as you know, women talk and we share. They shared their difficulties. I understood how they solved various problems that had cropped up on my side as well. And I was inspired by the speakers. In the beginning, at least, I got in front of several buyers as a result of that. So I highly recommend that whatever organization you can join, you do. Even if you don't expect anything back, you'll get something that you don't expect. In any event, you'll make friends, and the whole experience will be enjoyable. It'll be a break from what you do and for sure give you insights.
I can't agree with you more, and I'm in a completely different industry, but WeBank has been very powerful, and some of the inspiration that I've gotten has been in just discussions with other women in other businesses across the country. I think you're right, and I think that when you and I began our businesses, we needed a WeBank because the entity of who we were was not prevalent back then, but now it's taken on a whole new meaning of helping other women grow their businesses or hearing their stories or giving them suggestions. I do think it's a great thing to have, and I also renew my application process each year. So thank you for sharing that. That was very helpful to the women listening. And we always end every one of our chats with, what advice would you give to a woman who wants to start her own product business? Because it's very unique in what you've done and what you've achieved. What advice would you give a woman who's saying, you know what, I have an idea and I want to pursue it. How do I begin my own product business?
The first thing you have to do is be prepared for everything to take twice as long and twice as expensive as you anticipate. It looks easy. It isn't easy. It's never as easy as you think. But if you take that perspective that, yeah, I'm going to go into this. In the beginning, I just gave a little tiny bit of my stock out because I didn't have any money to pay anybody. So you have a little bit. For so many hours of work, you get a quarter share of stock and then a half a share and so forth. And then when I felt that I could make payroll, I opened payroll and stopped doing that. But it was a great way to get started on a shoestring. So women can do that. They set up a little stock with their lawyers and then incorporate correctly. They can do that and they'll get help for free for 2 or 3 years, whatever it takes. Generally, it takes about 5 years to actually make significant profit, so you have to be patient. Secondly, I think you have to be really enthusiastic about what you're doing because there will be hurdles and there will be daily effort. And it's always small steps that need to be taken every day to get to where you want to go. They're not leaps and bounds, they're small steps. So you have to have enthusiasm behind what you're doing.
And a desire. And I will say now, unlike years ago, there's also groups of women that are helping investing in other women. There's so many avenues that you can take. You don't have to give up. And sometimes it's just small starts. It's like throwing that pebble in the water and watching the ripples go. And just like you, I've seen so many women say, I never imagined my business would be where it is today when I started out, but it was just one step at a time. And I think you're right, enjoying the journey, the journey.
Yeah, like what you do. Another thing I think people forget about, or don't think about enough at the beginning anyway, is getting a commitment from your spouse and your family. They have to be behind you. They cannot be friction. So if they're behind you, then, you can do anything. But be sure also that you have the time for this and you won't slight your role as either a mother or a wife. I was free to do whatever I wanted. The third thing or fourth thing now is really hire smart people and people that you personally like because you'll be working with them every day. And the other characteristics I found it's important is they have to be team players and they have to be really good at the skills that you need. You get that combination. They're hard to find, but when you get those kind of people, it makes everything run so much more smoothly. And then, of course, you want to reward them financially and otherwise. Make sure that you're sensitive to their needs and listen to their concerns. On the business side is to price your product or your service wisely because you'll have to cover unknown overhead, logistics expenses that you didn't anticipate, inflation on the cost of everything, and then, of course, the taxes that you'll pay at the end of the day. So you still want to leave yourself a very nice profit margin. And by having it high, you can protect against the inevitable erosion over time. Another one, two more. Don't take either the highs or the lows too seriously. I always say tomorrow's another day. And be observant, because new products and services are usually discovered by accident, not intent. And certainly was the case for me. Things come along and you say, oh, that's an interesting idea. I had one product that was quite successful because somebody contacted me out of the blue and said, here's a product for wrinkles on the face. I looked at it carefully and I said, oh my God, that's a fabulous product for softening dry, cracked heels. And so being in foot care, I was able to take his formula and I gave him a royalty on what we made on that, in fairness, and came out with a product that was successful until we ran into issues with supply chain, but it definitely did not come from intent. And finally, success is really based on a combination of ambition and talent. Be very good at what you do and then go for it. It simply comes down to having a gift. I think everybody who's successful has found their gift and then they've enthusiastically enjoyed it and pursued it and developed it. So if you feel that you have a great idea, flesh it out, draw on others to make it happen, and then go for it. And so long as you're enjoying yourself and your job, you can't help but be successful.
Carol, this has been so empowering. And I think the thing that is the most impressive to me is you were a wife and a mother and then gave it your all, and it's never too late to start. I used to always say my children grew with my business. It really soared after I was in need it at home as much anymore. And I think you're right, having the support of a husband and children and wherever you are in your journey of life, family support is so important. And you have done it all. You are such a great role model to women out there saying, maybe it's too late, or I should have, or I wish I could have. The perfect example of find what you have a passion for. And you're right, don't let the down days get you down. Just say, okay, I'll offer that up and keep going. So I thank you so much for sharing all your wealth and knowledge with us today.
Well, Susan, thank you. I'm glad I can pass this experience on. And I love mentoring. I don't really have too much time for it, but if I can do it via podcast, that's probably the best way of all. So thank you for the opportunity.
Well, we appreciate it. So thank you very much, Carol.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Women's Wealth, The Middle Way. Make sure to subscribe to us and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast app. Join us for new episodes every other Wednesday. See you in 2 weeks.